Thanks for watching my channel. This is J-ROYL, the best smelling channel on YouTube, at least according to me and a few other people. Right, Royal fam? I got another summer list for you guys. I already did a designer list and a niche list, so done and dusted. But what about the cheapies? Cheapie lists are important because not a lot of people want to spend a lot of money. Some people have their priorities straight and they're not gonna just throw their paycheck away on a bottle of Parfumé. I've compiled a little list of fragrances for you guys. Each one of these are under $25 US. I'm going by fragrancebuy.ca's prices. So you can find all these fragrances. I actually checked. Currently, at the time of this recording, all these fragrances are available. So runners, to your positions, and blind buy. So before we get into the list, I want to give you a bit of a spoiler. Yes, there is an Armoff fragrance, and yes, there is an Aventus clone, but are they the same one? Dun, dun, dun. Probably. The first fragrance on this list is Azzaro Chrome Sport. Slightly under the radar. I have talked about it a little bit. What I really like about it is the smell. It smells fantastic. It has a beautiful citrus quality to it that's unmatched by a lot of similarly priced fresh fragrances. Just had an espresso. You can think of it along the same lines as Light Blue Pour Homme and Versace Mano Fresh, but it's just a little bit different and not so much about the aquatic feel of those other fragrances, but mainly about the citrus. Performance is mediocre. I'd say it's fairly good for a super fresh fragrance, but being a fresh fragrance, you probably will need to put a lot of it on. This is a category of fresh fragrances that you can't overspray. You can really spray a ton of this on and it's not gonna layer weirdly. It's not gonna be too soapy or too chemically. It smells great. The smell is fantastic. And a lot of people will agree with me on that, which is good because I like affirmation. Another nice thing about Chrome Sport is it's not just a lemon fragrance, because then you might as well just get Demeter lemon. When it dries down, it does get a little more ginger dominant and it has some musk to it. So personally, I would recommend it for indoors and outdoors. Maybe bring a travel spray if you're gonna be away for a long time, but check it out if you haven't. It's very cheap. This next fragrance, I'm not gonna go into too much detail with because if you watch fragrance videos on YouTube, including mine or Jeremy Fragrance, you'll know this one already. Perry Ellis 360 Red. I still think this is an excellent value because you can get a 200 ml, really odd looking bottle shape for next to nothing. And what's nice is it uses the scent DNA of the Aqua line, which is universally liked, but universally known. So not very unique, but just a tried and true fragrance that you can throw on in the summer, no problem. Moving on to the next one. I know. Patience, come on. I'm not going anywhere, guys, don't worry. The next summer cheapie on this list is by Calvin Klein, and it's called Eternity Aqua. For whatever reason, Calvin Klein was a fragrance house that eluded me. When I first started getting into fragrances, I wore CK1. I wore CK1 Shock in college or whatever, but then I just ignored all Calvin Klein releases until recently. I started revisiting some old ones and some of these newer flankers as well. So, Eternity Aqua, really juicy aquatic fragrance, and it has a main note of cucumber. So it really has this cucumber diffused water. It's not diffused, what is it called? Infused, thank you, Leslie. So a big pitcher of water with those sliced cucumbers all mixed in. Problem is, not everyone's into cucumber water. It's not for everyone. Some people are just gonna go for the orange juice or the pomegranate spritzer. Cucumber water is a bit weird, and I think it gets weirder when you wear Eternity Aqua indoors. For whatever reason, whenever I've worn it inside, it sometimes gives off a bit of a weird smell. However, in the heat, when it's extremely hot, when you're outside, when you're working up a sweat, it is just a magical scent in the air. Really fun to wear and really gratifying and a little bit unique as well, which is a huge surprise for a cheapie. For the hot summer days, if you're looking for a cheapie that you can throw on and just really enjoy, check out Eternity Aqua. Check it out and buy it, maybe.
Well, maybe.
Next up we have the Armoff fragrance. Dun, dun, dun. If If you're a fan of fragrances, you probably know a bit about them, and you know the different brands out there that don't exist in your big box stores, your pharmacies, or your chemists. Especially in the western part of the world, in North America, companies like Armoff and Rouge, you can only get them online and maybe at a few brick and mortar stores if you look closely enough. I'm looking at you, Maximum Deals. This is going great. Armoff was a house that I really heavily invested in the beginning because of the value. You're getting fragrances that smell like much more expensive counterparts that maybe are a little bit different, but way cheaper. This is the case with this fragrance, which, to be fair, doesn't get the best reviews online, but I've always enjoyed it, and I think it's fairly close to the EDT version of Bleu de Chanel, and it's called Tag Him. Armoff Tag Him is a pretty convincing Bleu de Chanel clone, especially for everyone else other than the wearer. Oftentimes we get so wrapped up with how a fragrance initially smells, like maybe we'll get a sample of something and then spray it on, and then instantly we judge it. But if you know something about cheap fragrances, guys, you know they don't show their best work right off the bat. You do have to let them dry down a bit, settle, and then you can sort of get a feel of what the fragrance was intended to be in the first place. That's where Tag Him shines. The sillage is fantastic, extremely fresh, very easy to wear. Performance has been so-so on my skin over the years, but so has Bleu de Chanel EDT, which is why I ended up selling it, and now I just use the EDP. Another thing I enjoy about Tag Him is it's a Bleu de Chanel clone. It's not a Dior Sauvage cologne, which I feel is way more of a ubiquitous fragrance. There's so many Sauvage clones out there. BDC is arguably the original Sauvage, and it just seems that people have sort of forgotten about it, especially the clone houses. I still enjoy Tag Him, and I do wear it quite often, most exclusively in the summertime. And for that price, you can't really go wrong, I'm telling you. We have our second last fragrance on this list. It is quite near and dear to me because it's a celebrity fragrance, Canadian/Latin, all right? He's a bit of a singer like myself. I didn't warm up yet, so sorry about it. You can get this fragrance for next to nothing. Very, very cheap. The bottle is quite nice. The presentation is really good. My fiance is a huge fan of it, and that's big. If you don't know, now you know. Shawn Mendes Signature 1. This is a unisex fragrance, which means it's good for men and women. Knowing Shawn Mendes' fan base, you would assume mostly women would wear this, but I've been enjoying it recently. Right off the bat, I wasn't totally impressed with how this thing smelled. It was a little bit sharp and it had that cheap alcohol smell that some fragrances can have, but that quickly transitioned into bitter citruses and it became quite juicy and vibrant and fun. It also has this clean, soapy quality that sometimes people equate to a shower gel smell, but I kind of like that. I, believe it or not, enjoy smelling clean. It has a lot of gourmand-like qualities, but because of that soapy feel to it and because it's not crazy dense, I wear it in the summer all the time. And another big part of the reason that I wore this in the summer is because there's also Signature number 2, which came out afterwards. This one is even more sweet. So this kind of became the one that I would wear sometimes in the winter, in the cooler weather, in the evenings. And then every other time, this one. I think it's a pretty fun release. It's different from a lot of the basic citrus fragrances or the generic gym freshies out there. And because it's unisex, you can share it with your significant other. As much as I love my boy Shawn Mendes, and as much as I love it when he calls me señorita, it's not my number one. And before I get to my final frag, bit of an honorable mention. I know we're kind of struggling with our hair right now, and I just found on Fragrance Buy, I stumbled upon Spiker hair gel for 11 bucks Canadian. You know what? If you remember Spiker from back in the day, that stuff was easily like 20, 30 bucks a bottle or tube or whatever. It's great for like those intense spikes, mohawks and things like that. So if you want to relive your 90s nostalgia and spike up your hair, Fragrance Buy carries that too. I was very surprised to see that. Nice. All right, guys, final frag time. If you've been paying attention to this video, you'll notice, hey, didn't James mention an Adventus cologne on this list? Where is it? It's here. However, this is not an Aventus cologne that I've talked about in previous videos, because a lot of them, they're over $25 US. Even Club de Nuit Intense Man is going up in price, especially if you got the EDP limited edition. That's way too expensive. I received this in the mail when I placed my last FragranceBuy.ca order, and it's a sample. So I'm sorry, I don't have the bottle. It smells a bit similar to Club de Nuit Intense Man. It doesn't have Aventus pineapple. It doesn't have blackcurrant as well. It's a little more lemon based. So it's a lemon, musky, woody fragrance. And according to the notes on here, the top is citrus fruity, very generic, heart floral. Didn't get a lot of that. Base, woody, mossy, ambery, musky. So yeah, what I like about it though, it's eau de parfum. The fiance really liked it, so that checks out too. And it has a great price and it performs very well. That's something that Club de Nuit Intense Man is now missing. Not based on my experience, but based on a lot of you guys. You've been saying that the newer batches of Armoff's Club de Nuit Intense Man, it just doesn't perform. This one does. So what I offer to you guys, if you are looking for a very cheap Aventus clone and you want to try something new, I recommend for this summer on the cheapie list, I'm really milking it, I'm sorry. It's Ajmal Wanderer. Now this isn't a brand new fragrance. There are some reviews out there, but I wanted to share with the Royal fam that this one might be worth checking out. It is very, very cheap, 100 milliliter bottle. What have you got to lose? It's not the most spot on Aventus cologne out there, and all the Aventus connoisseurs and the niche heads, they probably won't be into something like this. But I'm talking to the people that could use this, the people that don't necessarily want to spend that kind of money. Really encourage you to check this out, honestly. Honest. Don't forget to let me know which fragrances you're planning to wear this summer, especially if they're on the cheaper end. Cheap, 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 cheap. If you have any hidden gems, share them with the community, because knowledge is power, and power smells really good. And I also encourage you to check out my niche and designer lists, which are right here. All kinds of fragrances for this summer, guys. Like the video if you liked it, dislike it if you're the meanest person of all time. But you know what? I'm happy you made it this far. So yeah, see you next time. Bye.